The Scream Kings are in no way responsible for any encounters with the paranormal, extraterrestrial abductions, eldritch insanity, hauntings, hexes, curses, demonic possessions, cryptozoological sightings, or any loss of sleep from listening to this podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Scream Kings podcast. I'm NJ Gallegos.
I'm Nathaniel Darkish.
Scream Kings, your podcast for life.
All right, we are very excited to be here today. We are talking about a fun movie, and of course, before we even get into that, we need to introduce the third person in this virtual recording space. We have with us Steve Capone. Steve, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, thanks. First of all, I'm super excited to be here. I listened to several episodes of the pod, and I'm a fan. And I'm just thrilled to be able to talk about horror movies and horror stuff. I'm an editor. I'm an author. I run Whisper House Press. I started the press a few years ago and have released our first 3 anthologies this year: Cost of Living, Dread Mondays, and Year One. Really original name for our first year's worth of publications. But proud of that stuff, proud of the stuff that's coming up. And I write mostly horror, but also dabble in young adult historical fiction. And just excited to be here and talk horror stuff. And I'm really excited about this movie that we all watched.
Yes. And of course, we will talk way more about Whisper House and the anthologies and everything else related to that, especially Dread Mondays, for reasons that will become very obvious once we start digging into it. But before that, I just kind of want to know a little bit more about you as a horror fan. So what's your horror origin story, or origin story, if you will? Yeah, like how did you get into the genre? You know, where did this kind of fall into your life as far as coming to be a lover of the spooky and macabre?
Well, I came to horror through a series of upsetting experiences that included me watching the film version of The Twilight Zone that had the monster on the wing, and I don't know if it was Steve Guttenberg or somebody. That was the first thing I remember that just really terrified me, and I did not like horror as a result. I watched a lot of movies with my grandfather, some of which might be horror adjacent. I remember Damnation Alley really speaking to me as a kid. It had these flesh-eating cockroaches that I was terrified and fascinated by at the same time. And it imagined like a hellscape of a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear apocalypse kind of situation. It's based on a book. And I also remember reading a lot of Goosebumps. I came of age.
Oh yeah.
When Goosebumps were like coming out one at a time, and I think I read from the first one on, and I was excited when there was a new one. And my parents didn't take me to the bookstore to get the latest and greatest and newest thing, but one way or another, I accumulated 20 or 30 of those books, and I just loved them. And that was 4th or 5th grade. I don't know. Did you all read Goosebumps growing up?
Oh, yeah. Which I have to ask. So which Goosebumps is your favorite?
I don't remember. I hate to say that, but it's been long enough, and I haven't revisited them. Over the last few years, I've kind of had my heart set on not a first edition or whatever collection, but I do want to recollect, if only reprintings, so that I could go through and read them again. And I realize at this point, as I'm saying it, probably they're available electronically, and I could get them from my library. I'm literally in the library right now. Support your local library. And I could, but I don't remember. What I do remember a lot more clearly is the impact that Stephen King had on me when I was a young lad. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, maybe, reading stuff like Desperation and It. And those were the ones that hit hard at the time. It wasn't until I got a little older that I was reading his short stories and then really working my way through the catalog. But I remember carrying around that doorstop of a mass market paperback, just being proud of myself for reading stuff that other people were thought was distasteful. That was really a lot of what I had going on. I was at a Catholic school, so a lot of my antics were performative at the time. But I also happen to like Stephen King a lot and really enjoy his stories, and that one scared the crap out of me. The movie that came out at the time was spooky as all get out, and yeah, so I would say that. And then the only horror film my parents liked and watched was The Shining, and they talked it up, and then we watched it together. And then I refused to sleep with the bathroom door open for the next 3 years.
Fair.
There was a long period of time where I decided that I had moved beyond horror, and all horror was schlock, and I was only reading the classics in highfalutin scare quotes. I went to grad school. I did philosophy stuff for 10 years. I was studying ethics, and when I got home secretly at night, I was reading Stephen King short stories at that point, and I was reading all the classic sci-fi, like Arthur C. Clarke and that kind of stuff. But I really wasn't okay admitting to myself that I wanted to read horror. It wasn't until around pandemic times when I started reading stuff like Grady Hendrix and Stephen Graham Jones and Alma Katsu, and I realized that this stuff is not only good, but I've been missing out, and I now need to catch up, and I need to read every new thing that comes out. Which has turned into a literal career.
Yeah.
So now at this point, I'm reading 120 books a year, most of which are horror books, some of which are sad nonfiction journalist explorations of dark parts of human life. But I love reading horror. And I still don't like to be scared. But what has scared me has changed over time, and it happens a lot less frequently. And mostly when I read horror and watch horror, and I think you'll get this impression today from our conversation about the movie that we watched, that a lot of what I'm interested in are the thought experiment elements of horror and the hypotheticals and the what ifs, kind of what if this happened, what if that happened, letting that spooky stuff play out. That's what really gets me.
Nice. So, I guess along those lines, then, what is like all-time favorite, horror movie or book, or actually share both of those, because I want to hear about both of those for you.
Well, movie. If I pick like back in the past, stuff that remains with me, there are two movies that really stand. And this is apart from The Shining, which has a golden space in my heart. It is a very scary place, and it remains there, and it will never go away. But Event Horizon, and which was space horror, plus cosmic horror in the sense of the smallness of humanity and the pointlessness of everything. And I think it was Lawrence Fishburne was in that one, and then The Ring from 2002, the American take on The Ring. I saw that movie 3 times the week it came out, and I haven't been able to deal with it or think about it since. And when when I see, like, there would be years where if I would see the DVD cover, I would like hide it or throw it away or just dismantle it somehow, just get it away from me. Just no, not even going to think about that movie. It's so scary for me.
Toss it down the well, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
But then you have to get too close to a well, and that gets you thinking about it again.
Yeah, no. It's like the game that you lose if you talk about or think about the game. I don't know if you're familiar with this game, but we all just lost.
Yes.
So those are the kind of classic, for me, the classic ones, like the older ones. And then modern movies that I love. I'm more into the like more meta horror stuff. So like Scream and Cabin in the Woods and Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I've seen a ton. I see a couple dozen movies at Sundance every year, and so there are some of those movies that stand out to me. Rabbit Trap stood out to me last year, out of Australia. Uh, Babadook stood out to me, and because of my very loose affiliation with Sundance, I got to ask a question. I think Jennifer Kent is the writer of that one. I got to ask a question during a Q&A, and that was so cool. Um, I love horror that explores what people experience, because for me, human experience is a real mystery. I'm always trying to figure people out. I always want to know why people do what they do. And on that note, I really enjoy psychological horror. Films like Knocking, which was I don't know if it was Swedish, or it was definitely up in the Scandinavian zone. Knocking was a really great horror film that came out of Sundance, and then Gastern, which is The Guests, which became Speak No Evil. The Taftrup brothers made that one. Really enjoyed that one. Watched it with my 11 and 13-year-old, and well, they've had consequences from watching these movies with me, but now they don't watch horror movies anymore. They've learned, I guess. But we're a family that watches whatever people want to watch, as long as we're all willing to talk about it. And now they just self-censor. They don't watch stuff that might be something they don't want. Or in any case, reading Stephen Graham Jones, Grady Hendrix, Omakatsu, the aforementioned trio. But I'm also looking out for anything that Clay McLeod Chapman does. I am a more recent fan of Cassandra Kah, for sure. Their writing is amazing, and Carissa Orlando, was that the author of The September House? Really enjoyed that. Sylvia Moreno Garcia, really enjoy her stuff. Nick Medina. I mean, this is like, it's a long list, and basically, if you look at the HWA's Stoker Award nominees and recommended reads from the last 5 to 7 years, I have been through most of that stuff, and I get my reading list by looking at those things.
Fair.
Which, I really love anything that's going to get me wondering about the human condition.
Yeah, we definitely love, so many of these authors. We've had quite a few of those folks on the show.
I listened to the Omakatsu one recently. They're so cool.
Yeah, she is a delight.
I want to be your best friend, honestly. She still hasn't, mailed me back the plans for our friendship bracelets, but we'll see.
Maybe you need to take the initiative.
That's right. That's right. Maybe it's
just show up outside her house with the friendship bracelet,
or a stereo, and just hold it above my head.
Send her just some of your hair in the mail.
Oh yeah.
Totally or a friendship bracelet made out of your hair.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and then she'll do the same. She'll send you a friendship bracelet made out of her hair.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think that's how it
Where
works.
this could go wrong at all.
This is going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm terrified, which is perfect for the next question. So what is the horror that's scared you the most then? Was it The Ring, or?
Yeah, I would say it was probably The Ring. It's the one where when people talk about it, I shrink immediately from the conversation, and I do my best to shut it down. I don't even want to. It's weird. As long as we talk about it, like hypothetically, it's okay. But if we get into the nitty gritty, if we start quoting lines like "I saw her face," like then I just have images flashing in my head, and it just is really a bad situation.
Then may I recommend the novel?
I read the novel as well, and it did not hit me nearly as hard. I don't know why. I'm okay. So I do know why. There's a cultural difference in how stories are told in the United States versus in other countries, and I've noticed this a lot with Japanese horror as well as horror from the Americas outside of the United States, South and Central America, like us, Agustina Bastarrica sometimes does this. There's head hopping in a way that wouldn't be acceptable to most American audiences, and it actually throws me off enough that it reminds me that I'm reading a story. And I try my best to ignore it, but in a book like The Ring, and it's actually why I stopped reading the second book by that author, it just it makes it more difficult to suspend my disbelief.
That's fair, and also the Ring sequels are just bananas. Like the books, I should say, because then it gets like really weird, and it's all secretly a simulation that's now making a computer virus that's getting into the real world and turning everyone into Sadako. It's a weird.
What?
Yeah,
Seriously?
it's
Wow,
cuckoo
that sounds
bananas.
unhinged.
Yeah, no, like the second one way more unhinged, third one even more unhinged. It's just
Wow.
yeah.
I have an idea of how to make The Ring less scary for you. I think that you should watch the Scary Movie parody that's involved with that, because it's like, Sandy, the TV is leaking, and it's just gold.
I think what you're getting at is a good idea hypothetically. However, I've tested this idea and it does make everything worse for me.
Because then it's like you think about how scary it actually is, and then
yes, and the creature in the knockoff, in not knockoff, but the parody,
Yeah.
the creature in the parody is also scary for me. So it doesn't help. But I appreciate the sense that you have that it might, and I like where your head is at.
I figured like exposure therapy / humor.
Oh no.
I see where that could have gone wrong, yeah.
It's too much for me.
Or you just watch Rings, which is just such a stupid movie that it will cure you from everything. Because I hate.
So was it based on the second book, which I think was called Rings, right?
No, the second one is Spiral. Bug.
Yes.
No, so
okay.
Rings was the third American movie, and it was incredibly dumb.
Okay. Yeah, anything that reminds me of The Ring, too much.
Okay, that's fair. I mean,
you know what? I had a similar reaction to the Jinju Ito's Spiral, and the fantastic but way too much for me. Was it Amazon or Hulu has a miniseries based on it, animated?
Oh yeah, HBO does.
HBO, and it is too. It's much too upsetting for me.
Uzumaki.
Yes, yeah. The body horror stuff. It's horrifying for me in a really unpleasant way. It's like it makes me physically cringe, and I just don't want to feel that. My discomfort needs to be hypothetical. If it ever crosses into actual discomfort, I'm no longer getting what I want out of the horror.
Fair.
Yeah, which, it doesn't stop me from publishing stuff that upsets me. Theodore Hill's story, A Taste, was just appeared on the Bram Stoker Award recommended reads list for this year, and it came out just this November, this month, as of recording, on the website for free. And I struggled in editing that piece, and I mean, Theo was awesome, and their work was so good that it didn't matter that I was totally creeped out by it. But I do have a kind of natural aversion. I'm not going to like opt into reading or watching body horror, knowing what it is. And maybe that's why I had such an aversion to that film Together this year. I was angry when I left that movie. When I left the Sundance Theater in January, I wrote the first bad review of a movie I've written. Usually I would just not write a review, but I was so angry at Dave Franco and Alison Brie for making the movie that I went home and I wrote an angry short review saying that I disliked it very much, and I hope that they got my message. I hope they don't do that again.
That in itself's a compliment, though. That it like disgusted you so viscerally. It's like a good bad review.
Yeah, yeah. It was not my fave. What do you have? I'm sure you've mentioned this on your pod before, but I haven't heard it, so haven't heard this question answered. Do you have a most horrifying, most scary movie ever?
Um, Probably the one that at least most memorably has gotten to me, at least in the last few years, was probably Hereditary.
Okay. Uh,
Just the dread that starts, 20 minutes into the movie, when a certain head hits a certain pole.
mhm.
Just that point on, I didn't realize it in the theater, but I started gripping the sides of the or the armrests.
Wow.
And at the end of the movie, I had cramps in my fingers, which I didn't realize until the credits started rolling, and then I went, oh, let go, oh, ow, ow. So that one really got to me, and I just didn't sleep great for the next week. But
Yeah.
that was probably the most visceral response for me recently. Um, I don't know.
It's
I'd
heavy.
say
Yeah.
for me, I would say, and it's kind of a weenie movie, I think, but The Strangers really upset me. Because the idea that your house is a sanctuary, you're safe,
Hmm.
it's your place that you go whenever you're done with the world, and it gets invaded just because you were home. And for somebody that loves to be home, I don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Home
Have
Invasion's
you
pretty hard.
have you seen the yeah, home invasion stuff it gets at a core
Yeah.
fear that I have of not being able to protect my family. Uh, that's not a thing I want to think very hard about. Because it comes down to it. There's very little I can do. I could lash out, and I can imagine it 100 different ways of how I might defend myself and my family. But who knows? If some of this stuff, if it were real, there would be very little I could do. So,
Hmm.
when I think about what would I do, I am not very optimistic. I would do the wrong thing, probably.
We'd be like, "What are you doing? Come on!"
Now, I think about. I mentioned that I think about why people do what they do fairly. I think about it more than most people probably. And when I think about somebody whose motive is not, it doesn't make sense rationally to me. There's very little I know how to do to respond to that person. It's kind of like when you try to argue with somebody or try to talk reasonably with somebody. You can't. The saying is you can't reason somebody out of a belief they didn't reason themselves into. And I sort of think like if I run into a literal actual maniac, there will be nothing I can do because it's not like I can talk my way out of it. And eventually I'm going to say, why are you doing this? And they're going to say, because I can.
Hmm.
And that's not a happy situation. I think that's genuine horror. And that's not what I'm in the horror game for. Uh, I realize the more I talk about horror a lot and I talk about what horror is for a lot. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize I do have very particular things I'm looking for when I read and watch horror. And it doesn't always line up with other horror fans, which is really neat to find out,
Hmm.
but also kind of scary.
Oh yeah, it's definitely such an interesting thing to have people have like strong cult followings around certain
Hmm.
franchises or things like that, and I'm like, that is not remotely the kind of thing I am looking for at all, man.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I can step back and I can appreciate small elements of that. I think it's cool that they have this special effect or things like that, but
Hmm.
probably my example for me is like the Terrifier movies. I'm like, those are just
Yeah.
unpleasant. I feel unpleasant.
I feel that way about the Eli Roth
Yeah,
Hostel films.
Hmm.
How
most
about you,
most things
NJ?
that Eli Roth makes for me, I just can steer clear of.
Yeah, I have a hard time. I think probably the biggest thing I have a hard time with would be anything that depicts like sexual assault and things
Right.
of that nature. Like I have a very hard time. Often I'll have to just fast forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
It's
it's
too
a real life
real.
thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something that we unfortunately see far too often.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Sexual violence is not my jam at all.
Mm-mm.
Um, it's a good way to get me to bail on something. It's not the same thing, but I feel similarly in terms of it's enough to make me bail sometimes if the writers of a film or a book use the dog dying as a way of demonstrating how evil something is.
Yes.
It feels so unbelievably lazy. It's like punching babies in the face. You know, they can't defend themselves. There's just nothing they can do, and it is only going to make me feel bad. I don't like to be manipulated that way. And I feel very strongly about defenseless creatures.
Yeah.
It's like when I started Whisper House, one of the very first things I put on the website was we're not looking for any stories where the writer uses the dog dying as an emotional manipulative. I don't cotton to that.
I appreciate that because it's a cheap shot, and it's like a bummer. Like, why you gotta give
It
me a
is.
bummer?
Yeah, you know what? Like if there's a horror movie where the kids die and the airplane explodes, like all kind of bad things can happen. But if you injure the dog in the movie, I'm like, well, what did the dog do? He can't do anything to defend himself. He's just a cute little doggy. Even
Yeah.
if he's Cujo.
I know you
Well,
still feel
maybe
bad. You still
maybe
feel bad
Cujo,
for him
but
though.
yeah, no, that's true. Um, so yeah, I'm with you on not loving that stuff. I do want to put in a vote though for sometimes stuff that Eli Roth produces. I have really liked. So The Sacrament, which was written by Ty West and is a found footage horror film that basically tells the story of Jonestown.
Ooh, really? I
It
think
is.
I haven't heard of this. Awesome.
Oh, it's super good. And Ty West, who wrote like Maxine and Pearl and that series of movies, plus wrote a segment in the first VHS anthology horror anthology film. Ty West is good, and that film in particular was written and directed by Ty West. And Eli Roth Presents is really just a production note, and it's worth watching. It's super good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm in. I'll get my It wasn't Kool-Aid. What was it?
Flavor Aid.
Flavor Aid. I'll get my Flavor Aid and get rocking.
Yeah, get in the spirit of things.
Mm-hmm.
I love those culty movies. The Endless was another one. That was kind of a sleeper. I don't think it even went to theaters.
I think it's on Amazon, isn't it? It's like a UFO cult thing.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but I do want to say that I mean, it's a cult situation and it's a different kind of take on cult stories,
Yes,
and it
for
is
sure.
worth people's time.
Okay. I love a good cult, man, because
Oh, so good.
you almost have to admire a cult leader because it takes a lot of work to get to
Oh
that
yeah.
point. Like, I can't imagine the emotional and social exhaustion I would have.
Yeah, I would love to be a cult leader. I mean, I don't know what the downside would be, and I would make it work. Uh, I recently read The Children of Red Peak by Craig DeLuey, and that's a cult story. Another one from this year that was really good is Oh Sinners, which is not explicitly a horror story, but has horrific elements. Uh, I've been studying up on cults. I'm writing a horror novel right now that features a cult situation. And I have just been thinking while I'm writing this thing, like at least how I'm writing it, these cult leaders, they have it pretty good.
Hmm.
And if anybody out there wants to join the cult that I haven't started yet, I will tailor it to whatever it is that you want to be told.
Hmm.
We'll make it work.
Can I be like your cult doctor or something? And you
Oh,
just come to
awesome.
my
Yeah, yeah.
office. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll need a good doctor. And yeah, definitely. That'd be so great. You could be a founding member. We just have to figure out what it's about.
All right. I'm down.
Maybe we go back to the French Revolution and we start a cult of reason. Um, you could have that decama something calendar. Everything is based on tens and powers of tens. I don't know. it's probably too far afield at this point, but let's just leave it at yes. I would like to start a cult, and you can be the cult doctor. That would be so great.
Yeah, I would love to put that on my resume too. It would just look really good.
Cult doctor.
Yeah.
I can already imagine the business cards.
It's going to be a plague doctor of some sort.
Yeah. With that would be great. That little image of the plague doctor head thing, the mask.
Yeah. I might actually
Perfect.
just wear that, like a white
Yeah.
coat plus the plague doctor mask.
That's awesome.
I mean, you do wear that regularly, so.
I do. You're right.
You laugh, but I'm serious.
You mean wait, the plague doctor mask? Do you
I mean, I do actually. I have like 3, but
oh, perfect.
Just normal stuff. But I did dress up as a plague doctor for Halloween and handed out candy.
Nice.
When I have to work on Halloween, I have worn the plague doctor mask.
Do you hand out themed candy? Anything like plague oriented, like pustules or leeches? Yeah,
just mostly the Black Death. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, I gotta
coughs
stay
on
in
every
business. Yeah. And I tell everybody when I give them their Kit Kat, I'm like, get a vaccine.
That's good advice. And
Yeah.
the Kit Kat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great.
Top choice.
What more could you want?
Well, should we talk about Whisper House a little bit more? Share a little bit about kind of what your publishing company is all about.
Yeah. I'd definitely like to talk about that. I wrote actually a mission statement this year. I founded the company in April of 24, and I knew what I wanted it to be about, and I kind of had a statement about who we are. But this year, I solidified it into a mission. So the mission is that we publish and promote horror capturing life's mundane absurdities. We're committed to empowering and lifting diverse voices, to radical transparency and fairness, and to celebrating human creativity. So each of those captures kind of a little element of what I'm really interested in. We promote horror, first of all. We are super into horror. That's all we're doing. And we want to capture life's mundane absurdities. So absurdity can be played either for laughs or for terror and horror effect. And sometimes there's a fine line between those two things. Sometimes it does both at the same time. And when I've been talking about the stuff we publish, I talk about absurdism as being a kind of core driver. A lot of this stuff that came from my head in terms of the brand came from me reading so much Kafka and watching so many episodes of The Twilight Zone. I think that stuff is scary, and again, it's kind of scary in an intellectual, hypothetical way, as opposed to the like stomach twisting way. Like I had this idea that this is truly where the press started. I had this idea that a person in an HOA gets really upset with another person in HOA, and then they drive their truck through that person's front windows, like into their living room. And I thought, there's probably a lot more that could go wrong in an HOA. The HOAs themselves are just terrifying, and it could be played up for absurdity. And so I had this idea for a story, and it turned into an anthology idea. And then I asked everybody else, hey, could you all contribute to this thing? And I got like 200 something submissions. And at the same time, concurrently, I had this idea for the name Whisper House Press, and I went with it. And I was encouraged by my friends at Timber Ghost Press and Collective Tales Publishing to just try it. And to try it in terms of just go do the thing, make the anthology you want to make. And it can be your thing. You can include the things you think are really cool, and it can express the things you really want to express. And I want to express that I think that life is absurd. And the suburban horror elements, think like vivarium was kind of a thing I had watched around that time, and those elements are things that everybody can relate to. So that's the mundane horror like side of things. But then I also think when it comes to the commitments to empower and lift diverse voices, like it sounds like a nice thing to say for progressive readers, but what I'm really interested in is using any amount of power I have and just like distributing it to anybody I come into contact with who might not otherwise have a chance at that thing, whatever the thing is. I mean, I've been a teacher for almost 20 years, and that's part of why I am a teacher. I just want to help people out genuinely. And so I want the press to be able to lift people up. If there's somebody whose story might not be told because it's outside the norm, I want to be able to hear that story. And if it's a good story, I'm going to be the one I want to be the one to publish it. I want to give people a voice. And I realized that in starting a publishing company, if I do well at all with it, I have like superpowers. I can put people's words in print and then other people might read those words. So I feel like I really do have something of use to give to a newer author who people aren't knocking down their door to publish their stuff. I would love to publish people's first things. And I think a lot of the folks in the first few anthologies are first time authors, first time published authors. So I'm really, and I really also think that diverse voices thing, like a lot of the people that I just nominated 6 stories for the Pushcart Prize, and most of those stories actually came from outside the United States. And I thought that was kind of cool. It wasn't intentional on my part, but I picked what I thought were the strongest contenders for that prize in particular. And a number of them were one was from Kurdistan, Iranian controlled Kurdistan. One was from Zimbabwe. One was from Sydney, Australia. These are just kind of voices from all over. And I think that that's really, really neat. The transparency and fairness thing, I really want to be uniquely transparent. I publish everything that I'm thinking about and doing in a really direct way, including like some of my budget numbers and the contracts that I use for authors. I publish all that stuff on behind the scenes posts. I'm up to 55 posts since the founding of the press. And I publish my marketing plans. I basically I want somebody else who either is curious about how publishing works to be able to read that stuff and get something out of it, or I want somebody who wants to start their own press to be able to read it and be like, oh, I'm going to try that. Or, oh, he learned this lesson. I'm not going to do that dumb thing he did. I want people to get something out of it. And then to celebrate human creativity, that's just my commitment to not using AI in our creative work. And I don't feed my contributing authors' stories into AI to summarize or do anything with. And I don't use AI to edit, and I don't want stuff to be generated by AI. I want to celebrate human creativity by promoting human work. That's our mission. That's what we're about. And the first few books have been really fun to put together. The first one, as I mentioned, started as suburban horror, and it kind of expanded to be more like social horror with a large section in suburban horror. And then the second one was workplace horror, which you two know all about.
Of course.
Featured your short Cutting Room, which was one of those 6 I submitted for the Pushcart Prize because it was the strongest contender from the pack, I thought. And Chia Parvispur's The Seed was the other one from Dread Mondays, and that's the gentleman who lives in Iranian-controlled Kurdistan. And the Year 1 anthology is our third one, and that just is all of the 12 that I published on the website for free through the year now collected into an anthology. I thought to myself about a month and a half ago, if I've already done all the editing on these stories, why am I not gathering them and putting them into printed form and adding them to our catalog? Plus, it's a good precedent to set. Year 1 implies there will be a year 2, and so on into perpetuity and infinity. I still have to figure out how to publish after I expire, but I'm working on that.
The cult will figure that out. We'll
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, maybe that's what the cult's about. Just I mean, maybe it's just your standard eternal life cult.
So
We're
we
all
can
looking for eternal
read all of our books that we have on our TBR
TBR.
pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep
Mine's
cranking it out.
5,600 books. Yeah, I have 5,600 books on my TBR list right now. So I'll need a few lifetimes.
Yeah, that's our mission statement. We want to live forever so we can read. Boom, done.
I like that. Yeah.
And right.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, for sure. And right.
Yeah.
So those are the basics. I mean, that's Whisper House, and Whisper House is just right now, anyways. It's just me, just one human trying to be respectful of all the authors and get through the submission pile in a reasonable time and give everybody the respect in terms of editing process and marketing that I as best I can figure out. I'm learning everything as I go. I knew very close to nothing when I started, other than how to edit something.
Well, as two of your authors here, we definitely have enjoyed working with you. Obviously we have great love for Dread Monday since we are in it.
Yeah.
But of course I've had the chance to read the other work that you've published, and it's just it's good stuff. And I like really all of this is worth your time. Of course, pick up Dread Mondays first because then you can read the story that NJ and I wrote together, and it's awesome. But it's I really love that you kind of have that approach of bringing the mundane parts of life and kind of emphasizing how absurd life can be, and also sometimes even giving some room for some stories with more body horror than you're used to or are comfortable with when you published us.
Yeah. Proof of concept right there that I will publish body horror is that one of my favorite stories from the year was definitely two of my favorite stories from the year were body horror stories. I managed to put on a different hat, I guess, when I'm editing, because honestly, if I know that a story is body horror, I usually just won't read it as a personal choice. But as an editor, I'm like, well, this is really good. I can't not read this story. I can't not publish this story. And that's a good problem to have. I've read almost 1,000 stories in the last year and a half. And when a story grabs me like that, and it compels me to read something that I would otherwise choose not to read, that's a superpower there too. We writers have an unbelievable amount of magic in our fingertips.
Hell yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll of course share all of the details of how people can get their hands on all of the books and the website to read the stories and all that. Probably at the end of the episode, just that way it's fresh in people's mind.
Right on.
So let's talk about the movie that you brought to us to watch, which I quite enjoyed. That is a great fit for this idea of particularly Dread Monday's idea of workplace horror. So the movie The Mill, which was a Hulu-exclusive from 2023, directed by Sean King O'Grady and written by Jeffrey David Thomas. So, anyone want to give us the super condensed plot summary?
Want a Rochambeau for it? No.
That's my favorite way to decide things.
Yeah, as a woman, I usually have the upper hand on that one, so I'll allow you to give the summary out of the fairness of my heart.
Is that me or is that Nathaniel?
Now you guys can Rochambeau over it, but how about you do it, Steve?
Okay.
Would you
So,
like to, or if not?
Yeah. So it's a story about a guy who wakes up. He doesn't know why in a strange, square-ish, rectangular-ish space of maybe 30 feet by 30 feet. In the center is a round thing with a rock on it, a rounded rock, and a push arm thing. You probably have seen this if you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, the goblins or the trolls pushing to open the gate of Mordor. That kind of looks like that thing, a little round gear thing, and he is instructed that he has to turn that thing a lot until he can't turn it anymore, and if he doesn't turn it enough, he'll be killed, and he doesn't know how much is enough. Um, and there are workplace dynamics at play because there are people in similar spaces nearby. You can hear them shouting hilarious vulgarities through the movie. It is I would say this is Vivarium meets Cube meets the real life Stanford Prison Experiment. That's how I would characterize this thing. Have you seen Cube? Do we have that context?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the greatest films of all time.
Cube always makes me nervous because it's if I need to like know math to get out of something, like I'm just gonna die. Like I'm sorry.
Is the now I know that Hypercube had a lot of mathy elements. Was Cube as mathy as Hypercube?
It had that guy who was autistic or whatnot, that was his thing, where he like understood the patterns and the numbers and stuff, and he was like a human computer.
Oh yeah, one of those totally realistic representations of all autistic people all over the world.
Exactly.
JK. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I really enjoyed that movie, but Vivarium, was that Eisenberg?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think those are good movies to kind of compare this thing to. It's got the isolation of Vivarium with the kind of mundanity, horror from mundanity, plus Cube is like this evil experimental situation. Plus the Stanford Prison Experiment, in that a lot of it has to do with like what humans do in these situations, and kind of a meta thing going on there too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that idea of, okay, this is he's spent too many of his infinite days off that his business gives, or that his employer gives him. I
unlimited PTO.
Yeah, unlimited PTO, but you use too many of them, so now you're here. Because you're not a team player, and so then spinning it around forever and ever and ever, and allegedly, if you do well enough and grow and learn enough, that you'll finally be let free. Yeah, to me, it definitely felt like almost like a Black Mirror episode in a lot of ways. But I think those specific comparisons are also really good. So. Yeah, let's kind of dive into a little bit of what's working for this movie, because I think this movie is, I mean, I hadn't heard of it until you brought it up as we were emailing back and forth about what we should watch, and I'm glad you did, because I feel like it really does deliver the goods in a way that a lot of these sort of small Hulu exclusives or different streamer exclusives often fail to do, and I feel like this movie is much better than a lot of those, and definitely deserves a lot more attention than it's getting. So for me, what really worked with this movie is kind of that understanding of just that like corporate culture, corporate just this very much like, you're part of the team, we're part of the family, we're all in this together, Mallard is your company for life idea, and how that is both the thing that is employing you, but also the thing that they're constantly selling you stuff and all of that as well. Like, it really captured the way that businesses, especially a lot of these giant tech businesses, want us to approach everything. I felt like that was very prescient.
I agree. totally. And it reminded me as he was trying to talk to the voice that it sounds a lot like when I talk to my Siri or Alexa.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It was a little bit better at understanding and responding, or at least selectively responding, than all of the Googles in my home. But that's
so it seems like Mallard is like what Amazon wants to be if they were able to achieve enough power. But how they sponsored each of the terminations. So yeah, if you didn't turn the grist wheel enough times, somebody gets terminated, kind of to be as like an example. And
tonight's termination brought to you by
Mallard meditation.
Yeah, that was
and
the
there's just
best
a guy
one.
screaming his head off, and you're just, be mindful about your present.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask you, while you were watching this, did it come across as humorous for you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I never really know if the reaction I'm having is the normal human reaction or the weird me reaction being different from other humans. I tend to laugh at things that other people don't think are funny because of how absurd the thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I spent most of this movie laughing. And I don't say that to insult the movie because I feel like it did what it was supposed to do. But I watched it with my horror literature class that I teach, these high schoolers. They have all the proper permissions signed. Don't everybody worry all at the same time. It's an elective class. And nobody's required to watch anything. But we watched this movie, and I spent a lot of the time just because I have seen it before, but just remembering and recollecting and then seeing it play out. And it just was so ridiculous to me. But the laughter kind of hides a real concern about how companies really are and how the world really is.
Yeah.
But I found it to be funny.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it definitely was very dark comedy. It is presenting something that is absolutely horrific, but it is so blanketed in the mundane that it really just emphasizes how stupid the mundane really is, right? Hey, someone's getting murdered
Right.
next to you, but it's this moment brought to you by, and like it
Right.
just, it really does kind of just highlight, hey, like that's 90% of what our lives are,
Right.
but we just don't hear the screaming usually. But
Yeah.
that's usually happening in a factory over in China.
And the whole idea that they are creating nothing of value and they have removed themselves from the supply and demand chain, that I thought was a pretty brilliant idea
Mm-hmm.
that worked really well in this movie. And it was made explicit, but the idea that what we're doing often, not always, but many of us, what we're doing doesn't actually add any value to the world. Now, I try super hard to make every minute count because I'm terrified that I'm going to run out of time and not be able to do all the things I want to do. That is why I for real want an eternal life. But I think in theory, a lot of us are worried that what we're doing doesn't matter. And this is really it makes it explicit that what they're doing is not adding any value. They're turning a wheel, not to generate electricity or anything useful, just to turn the wheel and have the wheel's turns counted.
Yeah.
And conversely, as you said, sometimes you're worried, okay, am I doing anything that's actually, making something better in the world or whatnot? And this is like kind of coaching you to be like, well, you need to find your own reason. It's almost like a self-help seminar. The Mallard voice is giving you tips and tricks on how to make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, and
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, and I also love how meaningless a lot of the incentives or rewards were, right? Like here's the engraved pen. I cackled at the at the engraved pen. That was like the perfect little moment of to reward your hard work today. Here's this pen, and he's like, I don't have anything to write on. Like, oh, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Because like that really is how meaningless so many gestures are from these very corporate, very run by committee companies really are. Having worked way too many jobs that are run in this way where it's, oh, we recognize your hard work, here is a plaque or a thing that doesn't mean anything. Oh, you worked 40 years and you get that watch as you retire or whatever. Like anything like that is just so meaningless, and I love how that was so emphasized in that moment. It was that was like the chef's kiss moment of the movie for me.
We're talking here. We've been kind of talking around it for a few minutes now, but I have this note because I immediately went and looked up the quote from Friedrich Nietzsche, and there's I'm not going to give the whole quote, but in the movie there's a reference to the eternal recurrence,
Mm-hmm.
and for Nietzsche there was this idea that you should I don't know if this is like the official correct interpretation or whatever, but the layman's explanation of the stuff from Nietzsche is that if you would be satisfied living your entire life beat for beat, sadness for sadness, happiness for happiness, event after event, exactly as you lived it this time, if you'd be satisfied with that, then you're doing okay. And if it causes you to gnash your teeth and curse the demon that would give you such a fate, then you need to change what you're doing. And there was a direct reference to the eternal recurrence in the film. The way it was characterized in the film was, this place is an eternal recurrence of the worst moment of your life over and over and over again. And I thought that was interesting. It also has me, reflecting on my own life. And I think that one of the values of horror that's often overlooked is that it contains these little thought experiments about things like wondering if we're living the right kind of life and doing the right thing and living a life that we would choose to live over again exactly the same, or if we would have regrets and want to change things. And it has this character asking that of himself. Where did I go wrong? Should I be here? What would I do differently? And then getting a chance to do things differently. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but he gets the chance, and to my mind, does not do anything differently. And it's not intended to be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take.
Yeah, well,
You know what they were really missing of this movie? Like, the one thing they should have had was a poster. This is the first day of the rest of your life. That's the only thing on the wall at the prison.
Or the cat hanging on, hang in there, baby.
Like that.
Yeah, if it had those posters, I would have, then it would have just given it a whole other point. But yeah, no, I agree that idea of the eternal recurrence really is present, and I think is more interestingly approached than what the casual viewers seem to be responding. I was curious about how people have responded, and at least just looking at some of the IMDb reviews, some people are like, oh, it was, this wasn't any good. I'm like, you're not thinking about this enough, or you're not like giving this an opportunity to, say something enough. I think people were hoping that it would just be some, slashery kind of movie, and that's not the kind of horror this is. And,
Right.
Yeah, I appreciated it for what it brought. Other things. Oh, so another thing I wanted to highlight for this movie is just how well Lil Rel Howery, I think that's how you say his name.
Lil Rel Howery. Yeah, I think so.
The actor who is our main character, who plays the character Joe, who we follow pretty much the entire movie. He really did a very good job in this movie. I've seen him in some other movies, and he's usually just kind of comic relief mostly. I really have
He was in Get Out, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was the friend,
Yeah.
the airport security guy.
yeah
Yes.
the TSA guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a delight in that movie, but definitely just was kind of the thing that kind of lightened things up mostly.
The buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I know he's done like some kid movies and stuff. I know my son just is obsessed with Dog Man, and he was voicing that.
Oh.
But it's so I've seen him mostly just do kind of very light, very fluffy stuff, and I felt like he really did kind of bring a lot to his performance. I read and I guess allegedly this is true, but you never know with factoids from the internet. But apparently he was very committed to trying to do a good job with this movie, and actually like didn't want to sort of taint the experience of like walking onto set and like walking through all the stuff. And so he would be taken to the set where with the mill blindfolded, and then would start acting for the day, so that way he didn't get the outside experience. I thought that was a really cool way to kind of make himself more immersed in the character.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I felt like he really did do a good job of kind of selling the internal struggle. If we're just watching one guy on the screen for 98% of the movie, it's good to have someone who is bringing this much to the table in terms of his reactions to things.
He was so good.
Yeah.
So good without being like ridiculous or like as ridiculous as the circumstances were. He was not the ridiculous part. He was awesome.
Yeah, and I appreciated like him bringing this very like sincere element to like his fears and worries and excitement about fatherhood. That's because his wife is pregnant, and that's part of the reason why he's really really motivated to get out. Other than just hey, no one wants to be trapped there. But yeah, I felt like he really did a fantastic job. I'd love to see him do more serious acting in addition to all of his
Totally.
Much more comical roles. But I think he has way more range than I ever expected.
He did. I quite enjoyed him. I also liked his sense of style. First off, he shows up and he's in like a business suit, and then his Jordans, like, mwah,
Yeah.
chef's kiss. And I thought that the movie, like, it used color really well, and it had a lot of very beautiful shots, because the prison's pretty drab. Obviously, it's, they didn't have the hang in there poster like we so wanted, so it was very just kind of plain. And you would just see these beautiful, like, the flashbacks, and it would bring a lot more life to it and show you how lifeless things were actually in the prison. It's a very stark contrast. I don't know. I really dug a lot of the camera work and things. I thought it brought you into the movie a lot more.
Especially with such a limited budget. I know that they didn't have a ton of money, and the only number I could find was 4 or 5 million. But I don't know if that's accurate or where that really comes from. But it didn't have a huge budget, and it was direct to Hulu, and it kind of like, I just imagine if I were the writer, and now I'm kind of putting myself in that imaginary place more and more often, I would be so glad at how this turned out, because it could have gone very badly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a single. It's like essentially it's a single set. I mean, there are a couple of minutes of other shots, but essentially it's a single set for 90 minutes, and like it could be shot terribly. Like the motion of the camera is so crucial to whether it feels boring or not. In addition to the acting and the that kind of stuff, but everybody did their job so well that the fact that it was a low budget or relatively low budget movie didn't do it very much damage, I thought. And as long as you're not going in expecting I'm sorry, I stepped on your lines there.
You couldn't even tell that it was a low budget movie, honestly.
Yeah, and the shots had a lot to do with that. The beautiful, really good cinematography for such a small space, and the motion and the framing of the shots was so good. It makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, like most of the horror that you you see is not actually on screen. It's people shouting because they're being terminated. So you as the watcher, you get to supply whatever you think they're doing, and whatever you think is much worse than it actually is. And then the only real true what part of violence you see is when he attacks the the guard,
the HR guy.
Yeah, and he just goes to town on him.
Yeah. I thought that part of the horror from this movie is in the Kafka-esque kind of ending where he's waking up, he's back in the system, and nothing has changed. And in fact, his experience, to my mind, his experience demonstrates that nothing will change. He has not changed. I bet the writer would disagree with me on this. The writer wants to say that at the end of the movie, he's dedicated to burning the system down. But I have not seen very much evidence that that's actually what he's going to do. In fact, all of his behavior tells me that he is going to just go along and continue along the same exact path, and that he's learned nothing. Except now he's aware of it, which makes it worse.
Yeah.
And that's where the horror comes from for me as well.
And I definitely agree. And I think now we can kind of get a little bit into maybe things that didn't work as well. I felt like him, getting the promotion and just continuing to go along with it, and then that little moment of turning to the camera, basically going I'm going to burn this mother down. That just really didn't sell.
It was not
horror.
earned.
Yeah. To me, I felt like it would have been way more horrific if he was, calling up his wife, was like, I got the promotion. And
yes,
that would have been,
it's all working great.
Yeah, exactly. If that had been the attitude at the end, because I think, ultimately a lot of times good horror doesn't give us the happy ending. It makes us It makes us have that lasting dread, right? And there wasn't that lasting dread. It was just oh, okay, well, it sucks that they're doing this, and I guess he's gonna try to subvert it somehow. But I don't know. I think it would be much more interesting if it was oh, I passed the test, I guess, and I'm choosing to learn nothing from that experience because it's now more convenient. Hey, if we throw in money and whatever at a problem, it just goes away, right? And
the Danish version of Speak No Evil versus the American version of Speak No Evil gets at that. The Danish version is much darker than the American version. The American version, they really want, the Blumhouse Productions one really wants everything to work out at the end, and the Danish one doesn't need to have it be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And this film, I think, could have benefited from a more Danish ending, less American ending, more Danish. Just really embrace what they had built, because it felt like they got to that place where the logical conclusion was that he would be celebrating it, or it would be very different. He would not sign the NDA. He would not call his wife and say, I'm going to be late again tonight. It seemed like they were trying to have it both ways.
Yeah.
And then for that reason, it didn't work.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, obviously it's easy to be the armchair director now, right? But the version of the ending I would have loved to see is him, fully going along with it, and then it, somehow framing that last shot or something, the shape of his room or something like that being visually similar to the mill. If it kind of zooms out as he's starts typing away at his computer, but then it's
it is a cell. It is a cell
mm-hmm.
that he's in. It's essentially a prison cell. So in that sense, it's similar.
But
he can't see
some symbol on the computer, turning or something just would have been I don't know, a way to really stick that
drive it home. Yeah.
Do you think they were trying to keep it open for a sequel or something potentially?
Nah, I think it was just them trying to make a producer who felt uncomfortable with a more upsetting ending happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder if the writer had intended something different and they had to like change it. That's a question I have, because really it doesn't mesh with where things were going. I
Mm-mm.
really think he needed to go one direction or the other, and I think they messed up the character arc by having it be the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. NJ, did you feel similarly, like they were trying to have it both ways, or it was too happy, or what did you
Yeah,
think?
I liked the fact that it was a simulation, because to me that gave me that like complete Black Mirror I don't
Hmm.
know, ending, because I kind of the entire time I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Black Mirror, and then whenever it did that, I was like, yes, yes.
Hmm.
But I agree. It was just it's a letdown. It's you punch up the whole movie and just give us that. Like,
Hmm.
how about he throws a Molotov cocktail into the hallway? Like, I would have been happy with that even.
I'm with it. I think it needed to go one direction or the other to show him either totally defeated or totally changed.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I think the other if you're gonna have him really be standing up to it, then he needs to stand up, and then once the HR guy walks up to him, he just beats him down again.
Yeah, that would have been great. Like, he just beats the shit out of him again.
Yeah.
Insane.
Right over the table. I love
Yeah,
it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
The
And
the
he
real
stabs him with the pen.
decision, that decision to sign the NDA, it would have been even better if he would have had the pen
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
for the NDA. But the decision to sign the NDA, that was the main signal to me that nothing had changed.
Yep.
Then he just sits down to work.
Yeah.
And they have him he doesn't produce anything in the real world either. He is just watching training videos. That's his whole job. They said, you have to finish your 10 videos by the end. Your quota is 10 videos by the end of the night. Um, and that was like, oh yeah, this is the same. It's not different from the simulation,
Mm-hmm.
but
You're
also
trading one prison for another prison.
yeah, yeah. I almost expected it to be a double dream wake up thing. Like, oh, now I'm in the real world. That was also a simulation.
Um. So, were there other things that like really worked for you guys? I mean, I always enjoy a good critique of AI, um, especially just it being put in charge of things. That's always a great thing for humanity. So I appreciated it being very critical of AI, but besides that, yeah, I think we've kind of covered the things that really worked, at least for me.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it for what it was, and like you, I thought I really enjoyed the movie. I'm not gonna slam it for anything really. It's a good movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it deserves a little respect.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a movie that many people have seen, I think, and I think more people would like it than have seen it.
For sure. Um, well, then, yeah, so some of the things that also just didn't work for me, I just had kind of a quick list of a few things that were made me at least kind of roll my eyes a little bit. I felt like
Hmm.
his clothes being pretty clean the whole time was, I guess, a failure of the simulation. But yeah, like he seemed remarkably clean considering that by the end of it, it had allegedly been several months.
Months.
And yeah, it's still just like, oh, it's like a little sweat stain, not like filthy,
Yeah.
dingy, falling apart. The
Yeah.
Jordans, are just collapsing on themselves or anything like that. No, the Jordans were pristine, frankly, by the end.
I didn't notice the shoes. Even after he talked about them, I did not notice the shoes. So
Yeah, they were
kudos to you.
they were looking pretty good considering he had been going around that little mill over and over again.
Yeah.
I felt like when we have the scene where he tries to beat the program or whatever by getting no one to work, everyone was
Mhm.
very very quickly persuaded. I felt like that was a little much.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that it took all day for somebody to be a freeloader
Mm-hmm.
in that situation was not as easy to believe. Yeah, I bet that had something to do with the fact that it needed to be a 90-minute movie too.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, of course, but that seems like an obvious like boo boo, where everybody just goes along with his like plan that requires it's a group. What is it? A collective action problem.
Mm-hmm.
Philosophers call it. Somebody needs to do the thing. Everybody needs to go along with it. Everybody will benefit by being the one person who doesn't go along with it. But in this case, everybody goes along with it as soon as he suggests it is not believable.
Yeah, until 2 minutes before the end, and then it's like, oh, if you don't have it, then you have to. Yeah, if you have a zero, I'm like, really? Like that just felt.
Mallard had to supply the extra incentive, and that was hard to believe, I thought, too.
Yeah, especially it waiting until the end of the day. Like, if it had just been immediately like, no, actually, screw you.
Right.
Then
why wouldn't Mallard have spoken up right away?
Yeah. I just felt like, maybe some of the other scenes could have been pared back a little bit to give that scene more breathing room, make it more of a challenge, at least, to get people on board. Have our programmer guy explain why that would actually work to other people instead of him just going, yeah, I agree.
Totally.
I felt like the neighbor, especially like being involved in making the AI, I mean, I guess there's a question of whether he even exists or whatever, but I felt like that was rather convenient, and that he had previously been in that one or that cell before. Like, I don't know, like a lot of it was very convenient,
contrived.
Yeah.
I want to insert a little defense here that in my research for a couple of my books, I read a lot about the Stasi and read a lot about secret police forces and secret prisons and stuff. And it's very common that the captor will place somebody beside or with the target of the investigation and get them to talk or spill their guts, or they will place them there to insert misinformation or disinformation. So I might be playing like three-dimensional chess more than the movie is, but it is possible that like the algorithm decided it was useful for this prisoner to get that particular information. And so convenient, yes, but also maybe convenient in a way that's believable in the context of the AI running the show. Possibly.
Possibly. But I would have enjoyed then if, I don't know, they had made that come full circle and then, like, I don't know, one of the HR guys to observe or whatever is him. That would have been fun.
Right.
Just hello, Joe, and then,
yeah, and it's him. Yes.
Like that would be, that would be fun. But yeah, just I felt like it was one of those things where I was like, oh, okay, like, just with a little reworking, that element of the story could have been that much stronger. But also just it seemed very clear to me, like, the whole time that no one ever gets out. So, like, it just didn't seem like there was any plausibility of it. Even if the AI had been faking, like, today so and so has been returned to the company for promotion, and
right,
like, I don't know, just like a little element like that would have been better at selling the whole conceit. I felt like that was also just kind of a missed opportunity, because as it was, I think people would have just given up on day 5.
Yeah. Once you realize it for real. Yeah. Once you realize this is for real and I'm never leaving and I have to just push this stupid thing, and no thank you.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. I had 2 gripes. Gripe number 1. So, they only get the 1 bottle of water, the sandwich, and with the potato chips. And Joe's complaining to his neighbor about not having enough water, and he's like, oh, well, you're going to have to drink your piss. Oh, no, but you're going to have to filter your piss through your Jordans. And I was a little disappointed that didn't happen, because I was like, ooh, we're going to see some stuff. And it's like, no, we didn't see it. Like, I mean, maybe that's just weird on my part, but I wanted to see that a little bit. I wanted a little more struggle, because it's like, they're obviously dying of thirst and starvation if that's all they're getting and they're having to push this thing thousands of times. I wanted maybe a little bit more life. I don't know. It would be more like real life if he had to struggle a little bit more in that capacity.
Heck, like they could have just
the physical demand.
Made it be that he's hooked up to some IV or something that's giving him everything that he needs.
Yeah,
we provide all of your needs, so you can just work.
And that would be great, actually. And then at the beginning, when he wakes up in the cell, and they mention it was propofol. Me and my wife were like, "Oh my god!"
Isn't that when they do butt stuff?
Yeah, like you would do that for a colonoscopy. So,
yep.
Propofol's good if you had an IV infusion of it, because then you can like maintain the sedation. But if you give just like one push of propofol, we do it for like people that they fall and they dislocate a hip or whatever, and we have to put them out for a couple minutes and then have them back to awake. So it wouldn't be a very good medicine to pick if you were going to, dose somebody, transport them to a prison, and then drop them off. Like, you would want to use something like ketamine where they're in a K-hole for a few hours and then drop them off. So that's just my gripe about that.
I doubt we got the information. In Cube, they had the characters wake up almost exactly the same way. I don't think they gave us the medication they used in Cube, but I think that's a good gripe. I wonder if they consulted any doctor about that or any anesthesiologist. I feel like that person would have pointed out to them propofol is the one for the butt stuff and not for the knockout stuff.
That's the butt stuff, guys.
Yeah, it seems like someone hastily Googled something and then just rolled with it.
Yeah, they probably Googled like popular anesthetic or sedative medicines, which I mean, like, it will work, but you have to have a constant infusion. So, I mean, it'd be hard to approach somebody and put an IV in them without them knowing.
Right.
It's not that hard if you're not a coward.
We actually have it's not an IV, but we have drills called an IO that you drill into people's bone.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. It feels It literally is like a little drill. It has a needle on it that you drill into somebody's bone. You uncap it, and you're able to give infusions. Like, so if somebody's super sick and you can't get an IV immediately, or like time is of the essence, you can do it.
Ugh.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's gross.
Hard pass.
It's kind of fun, though.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I have to say,
you give me something else to worry about.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm hating it.
Just picture me laughing maniacally and going, because I do every single time, because it thrills me a little bit.
Well, yeah, I guess that.
I'm sure patients love that.
They're usually
you're like
out of it when you use an IO. So, but I do it more out of the room. God. It's more like a Dr. Gill sort of situation.
Kind of like in that movie, The Dentist. I think I watched that when I was a kid.
Kind of like that, yeah.
The doctor's just laughing hysterically as he drills and drills and drills.
Yeah, that was
okay.
That's more or less accurate, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, should we rate this movie?
Let's do it.
All right. So our first rating criteria is screams. How scary was this movie? I gave it a 2 because it's pretty tame, but I mean, I guess the gore and the screaming off screen might get some people, but I'd say this is about as approachable as you could ever hope for.
Yeah, I agree. I was also a 2. It's not like terrifying in that, like, oh, I'm not gonna sleep sort of situation, but it is probably one more so I'm gonna think about, like, psychologically. Like, every single day is the same. Like, that in itself is a little bit horrifying, but you know what? If you would have showed me everybody getting their legs broke, I might have bumped it up a little more.
Yeah. and I said I'm kind of like a null value here. It's really like it's either a 1 or a 10. It's a 10 if existential dread really is going to creep you out, and it's a 1 for everybody else. And I would say, I laughed through most of it. I didn't flinch, but using me as a judge is pretty bad. Um, I don't really know what is scary. I judge scariness kind of hypothetically.
Fair.
So it's either a 1 or a 10.
Fair. I like it.
So yeah, let's talk crowns now. Just how good is this movie? I would say I'm gonna go in with a 6.5. It was really, a solid movie in a lot of ways. I definitely would be even, willing to rewatch it, but that ending really just kind of took it down several pegs, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 7. I'm gonna recommend this movie to people to watch for sure. And it's the dark humor in it really tickled me. So I will be definitely investing in Mallard Trust, I think.
And my students loved this movie. I was really surprised at how much they really liked it. We watched Presence together. We watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil. This is the third one we're watching, and I think a lot of them would say it was their favorite. I don't know. It's hard to beat Tucker and Dale.
That's fair. Tucker and Dale's amazing.
But yeah, that's a 10 for me. But so I rated this as a 3.5 out of 5 stars when I gave it my super nerdy letterboxed rating. And I rated it the same this time. And if I have to use a scale out of 10, I'm going to go with a 6, 7.
Oh.
Oh, I hate you so much. I'm going to punch you.
I spend a lot of time with high schoolers, so
yeah,
it's somewhere in that vicinity. This is one of the real instances of 6, 7 question mark.
You know what? Fair. But I may have to tell you a joke you can use if you want students to stop doing 6, 7.
No, I don't want them to stop. I'm all about it. I just had my friend 3D print me a giant Flava Flav style necklace that just says 6, 7 in like exploding letters of color.
Shut up.
And
oh my god.
I'm so stoked to wear that to school after Thanksgiving break.
Okay, you know what? I heartily endorse your approach to this.
This should be your author photo. Just you and the 7.
That's a good idea. I'm going to get some headshots done. I do have another really good friend who's a professional photographer. And if I tell him the joke, he will definitely do some work. We'll get this together. I don't know. Do you guys host author photos on your website? Can I send you my 6, 7 necklace photo?
We will make it a thing.
Yes. I
okay.
should start doing that, actually. I have time to do crap like that now. Well, awesome. Well, now that we've covered the horror of the 6, 7 joke, how is everyone staying spooky lately? What horror media are you consuming these days? Let's start with Steve.
Yeah, so I'm listening to Nick Cutter's The Queen on audiobook. On Kindle, I've been working my way through Rivers Solomon's Model Home, which I really am impressed by. And then I've, of course, been reading a ton of short stories and novellas. I recently closed the call I had an open call for a while. Recently closed that just so I can get through everything. And so I've just been reading that stuff. And then as a side project, Stranger Things, the last season is coming out this week. And so, yeah, I'm kind of pre-gaming for that, watching some Stranger Things stuff and just getting ready mentally because I love that series. I think it's super awesome. I mean, I really love the first season, but I also really love the other ones for different reasons. So I'm super stoked about the new season coming out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
I will be binging it. If they let me, I'm going to binge it.
As you should. I'm planning on binging it as well. Yeah, I've been staying spooky. I've been watching a bunch of X-Files lately. My wife and I have kind of watched it off and on, just like slowly picking our way through the early seasons. So we're like, but I don't know, it's grabbing us more consistently lately. So yeah, we've been watching a good chunk of the third season over the last week, and also just reading the Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre. Uh,
Nice.
Philip Fracassi, and it's just that one's super fun. It's great to have a slasher where our final girl is like 80 years old. Definitely not your usual thing, and it's nice to see people who are older actually being represented as human beings. So often they're just
Mm.
set dressing, I guess, and it's fun to have like older characters that actually have like rich, interesting personal lives that and concerns, and running into the issue of no one takes old people dying seriously if they if things are plausibly an accident, then no one's gonna think there's a slasher going around. So just a great concept that's really been a lot of fun to read so far.
Hey, Nathaniel, can I ask, are you a fan of any writers of the X File in particular? I love Darren Morgan's episodes.
I haven't honed in that much yet, so I need to look at who's writing what more. I've been meaning to, because there's definitely some episodes that hit really hard, and other ones I'm like, I don't know, like, is this episode good?
Right.
But yeah, like there's definitely a few
Right.
episodes that are huge standouts to me. Like,
So look out for him in the credits. He's my favorite.
I will definitely do that.
Well, I have been staying spooky. I just finished Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Keist, and
Oh, she's great.
I highly enjoyed it. So it's kind of a reimagining if Dracula was around during the Summer of Love, and the main character is Lucy, and it also draws on Jane Eyre and whatnot. So I felt a little smug because I was like, oh, I've read Jane Eyre and Dracula. Look at me go. But I really liked it. And then I caught, this is also on Hulu. It's I think a kind of like a reimagining of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Hmm?
It's I didn't really expect too much from it. But it was quite gory, which I did not expect.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there was some lesbian stuff, which, I mean, as you can imagine, I enjoyed quite a bit. And I always enjoy a morally gray protagonist, and as you watch the movie, you're kind of like, I think I might kind of be on her side. I don't know. So I do recommend that for sure. And because I can't help myself, I always have to mention my reality TV. They had a zombie party on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City that I wish I would have been invited to.
Oh, hey, are you a big fan of that show?
Oh, I love reality TV. I love rotting my brain.
So, was there an episode where the characters went to a launch of the movie Heretic?
I have not seen it. If they
Okay, because
have.
they were filming. I went to a pre, like, we got some tickets. The Horror Writers Association, that through the Horror Writers Association, sometimes the producers will send promo tickets to pre-release showings. And we saw Heretic in Salt Lake City. It was this big event, and one of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City was there with the camera crew, and I was sitting in the front row with my daughter, and I was making winky faces at the camera, and I was just wondering if I was on there. That's all.
That is so exciting. I wonder if it was because one of the housewives, Lisa Barlow, she has a tequila brand, and I think she like donates a lot of that kind of stuff to events. And you'll actually like this. She mentioned that she made a joke that she donated tequila to the Church of Satan, and then the Church of Satan
Nice.
on Twitter said, we did not get any tequila.
Oh, this was Whitney Rose and Whitney Levitt.
Oh, Whitney Rose? Okay. All right.
Yeah. I don't know who they are, but they were there and they were in the theater introducing the movies.
That makes me so excited. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was A24 partnered with them. It was
This I'm gonna go like just tell everybody I know now. Be like, oh my god, somebody I know saw Whitney Rose.
yeah, I mean, I was close enough that she probably breathed on me and
Oh my
everything. I
god.
don't know. Yeah,
That's so hot.
yeah, yeah. My claim to fame is that I've also been breathed on by Margaret Atwood
Ooh.
and by Lou Reed
Those are
of
notable.
the Velvet Underground. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, Lou Reed, I got his spittle on me. As a matter of
Oh.
fact,
Ooh.
yeah, it was great.
I would add that to your CV 100%.
Lou Reed's spittle. Okay, I'll add it right now.
All right. Well, I guess we should probably wrap things up. So where can people get the stories? Like, tell us the website for where
Sure.
you can read, where people can get their hands on the books, especially Dread Mondays, or anything else that you're putting out there.
Yeah, so folks can find Whisper House Press at whisperhousepress.com. That one will be hopefully easy to remember. I am super active on Blue Sky and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, but there are link trees floating around at all those places where if you find one, you probably can find the other ones. I try to be super responsive. So if people have questions, they want to know about publishing horror stuff, they can send me an email, editor@whisperhousepress.com. And I also would just love to hear from more writers of color and writers who aren't exactly like me. And so if you're a writer of color, you should submit your stuff to Whisper House Press. There are no I don't it's no bonus points for being a writer of color, but I want to make sure that they're represented as best I can possibly do, and that means soliciting more so I can get the very best stuff. And that said, people can find Dread Mondays, Costs of Living, and Year One wherever books are sold. And chances are, if they go to our website, they can find a 10% off order location for those books. And if they can't find it, they can email me and I'll send them one. If you want something signed, send me an email. We'll get something signed for you. We've got 3 novellas coming out next year. One by Emily Flynn Jones. She's writing a feminist horror novel called Rot Girl. Andrew Pixton of Salt Lake City is writing Ghoul about a unhoused guy. Homeless people are treated badly, and well, hence the term homeless people and not unhoused people. But they're treated badly, and this is more of that mundane, bureaucratic, Kafkaesque, depressing horror stuff. But a guy becomes a literal ghoul, and then Andrew or Jordan King Lacroix's Dream Music is coming out next year as well. And we're going to have a call for submissions in January or February for a book called Doom Scroll. And it will be social media horror. Would love to hear from people about that. And generally, I would just love to connect, especially if there are other small presses out there that want to connect. And I would love to. I can't wait to hear this episode. It's going to be so fun to listen to with my horror lit class, and they know that I'm doing it because I bragged, and I would be happy to hear from any students out there who want to learn more about writing and writing horror. I'm here to help best I can.
I think that pretty well covers everything. Thank you so much for being on, Steve, and to all of our listeners out there, stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.